Hello friends, at the time of filming this, it is the 5th of January. Can you believe it already? We're like 5 days into January. I can't believe 2024 is just gone. Like, I actually have no idea what I spent my time doing in 2024. It just went like that, and now here we are in 2025, which is baffling. I'm really sorry for this lighting. The UK, when it gets to winter or even January, has like maybe an hour of daylight. It just feels like it's so dark and depressing all the time. We just have to get on with it. I did actually film a December reading vlog video, however I then had surgery and then reading just stopped, so the vlog is kind of like a little bit of reading, a little bit of reading, a little bit of reading, that's it. So that is not going to see the light of day because it's pointless. Hopefully we'll do that again this year in 2025. I didn't actually read that much in December because I had surgery and I felt really rough, funnily enough, so I was recovering from that mostly. So my reading in December was not as good as it could have been, but that is okay because reading is meant to be fun, and I was prioritising my health, which is always important. I'm excited to see what the year 2025 will bring for my reading, so we'll see what is in store. Today though, I am doing a Storygraph Wrap Up video, which I did last year. You can go back and watch that if you would like to. We're going to see what I got up to this year in terms of my reading. We're going to have a look at the overview of last year on my Storygraph. Also, at the time of watching this, there is now a post live on my website discussing my year of books in 2024. I don't discuss every book I've read in 2024 because that is 70 books and that would be a very, very, very long blog post, but it is discussing a lot of the books I've read in 2024. So there's some 1-star reads, some 3, 4, 4.5 star reads, and my 5-star reads, and of course my top books of 2024. So if you would like to read what I read in 2024 and what I thought of those books, head on over to my website, and I'll put the website in the description as well. But for now, let's have a look on Storygraph. I actually didn't think I was going to hit my reading challenge this year, and in the end I don't think I hit it until New Year's Eve, the 30th. I hit it really last minute because I had a bit of an up and down year for reading, which we'll have a look at. Like, some months were really good, some months I read barely anything, and you know, that's okay. Like I said, reading's meant to be fun, so I wasn't that worried about my challenge. And then kind of the end of December, I just felt well enough to read again, and I had time to read because I wasn't at work, because I was recovering from my operation. So I just managed to storm through some books, which was very good, very exciting. Here we go, my 2024 reading wrap up. Congratulations on a fantastic reading year. Thank you so much, Storygraph. I take that very personally. Finished reading 70 books across 25,836 pages and 1.38 hours. I literally can't tell you what audiobook I listened to last year because I'm not really an audiobook person. I'm a bit fussy. I did start to read the Percy Jackson books via audiobook because I really like the narrator, so it might have been that. I've got absolutely no idea. But yeah, last year my challenge was 70 books. This year I set my challenge at 64 books. So that's 52 books, one book, which equates to one book a week for every week of the year. And I have added on 12 books I should be reading in 2025, i.e. 12 books that I haven't yet read that people think that's a must read, and one for every month of this year. So I've set myself a challenge of 64 books this year, so I'm not pressuring myself. So a little bit less than last year. If I beat it, I beat it. The first book I read last year was A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal. I set the bar really high with that book because it was insane. It was such a good book, absolutely incredible. Can't wait for the sequel. I've raved a lot about that book on this channel, on my website, on my Bookstagram, so if you don't know how much I love that book, I don't know where you've been. The last book I read last year was Celestial Monsters by Aidan Thomas. I really love Aidan Thomas's books. I really, really, really love the Sunbearer Trials. I just felt like Celestial Monsters wasn't as good as it could have been. I enjoyed it, but I felt compared to how good the first one was, it didn't match that same level for me. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. Here is my 2024 Storygraph, a mood map of your reading. Lighter books push the line up and darker books pull the line down. I was reading some dark books in March then, apparently. Okay. You traversed landscapes of the heart, set off on thrilling quests, and followed cryptic trails of secrets. The narratives flowed at a comfortable, engaging tempo. See, yeah, you can see in November my reading plummeted there. I don't even know what happened in November, but my reading was down there big time. You can see a little bit of a dip in August and September as well. So yeah, my reading was quite up and down this year. Congratulations on meeting your reading goal. Thank you so much. I take that personally, Storygraph. The genres I spent the most time with in 2024. Mostly fantasy, which doesn't surprise me. I'll read a bit of everything, but fantasy tends to be the books that I have the most of and I pick up the most. Young adult, which I find quite interesting because I thought that I was kind of moving away from YA, but I guess I still do read a lot of it. I think I've got quite a lot of YA on my backlist as well, so kind of books I already own, a lot of them are YA, so that would make sense. LGBTQ, not surprised. Romance, that is kind of surprising, kind of not. It's kind of surprising because I don't see myself as a romance reader, but then again I am picking up romance more because now I've realised I do like romance, it just needs to be good and then I don't mind reading it. So I'm kind of surprised to see that it's one of the most read genres, but I'm not surprised to see there's an increase from previous years. And a lot of contemporary. As a mood reader, I'm either in the mood for a fantasy or a contemporary. I'll read anything else, but if I was to pick up a book, they're the two genres I'd lean towards. So yeah, not surprised about that either. The longest book I read this year was A Little Life at 720 pages. I thought that's slightly cheating. I didn't necessarily read that this year. I remember starting to read it at the end of last year and then finishing it early into 2024. So technically I did read it in 2024, but not all of it. But yeah, that's a hefty book. You've got to be in the right headspace to read it, and I have to read it kind of a little bit at a time. I can't like sit and binge the whole thing in like a week. It takes me a while to get through it because of the content, but I do love that book. It is a very good book. The shortest book I read was Hex, which was 101 pages. I really did not get on well with that book. I loved the concept, I did not like the execution, which is ironic because it's about an execution. The average length of the books you read was 360 pages, and it took you around 10 days to finish each book. That sounds about right. I have now come to terms with the fact that I am a slow reader. I used to be like, I could read quite fast. No, I can't. And that's okay. 10 days, I feel that's pretty decent. That's at least 3 books a month still. The least time I spent with a book was Noel Fitzpatrick, Kira and Me, which was one day. I read that in about an hour. It was similar vibes to The Boy, the Fox, the Mole and the Horse, written by the Super Vet guy, and it was in a sale in Waterstones in 2024, so I picked it up and read it, and it was really sweet. I think it's a really nice way to come to terms with grief and the loss of an animal. I really enjoyed it. Not like a pinnacle of literature, but it's an enjoyable book. But very much like The Boy, the Fox, the Mole and the Horse, it is a quick read. So it took me a day to read that. The most time I spent with a book was 43 days reading Fourth Wing. It's a chunky book, okay? It's long. The authors I spent the most time with in 2024 was Stephanie Garber. That is because I reread the entirety of the Caraval series in readiness for Spectacular. So that is the 4 books for her. Ella Shafak, I read 2 books. So I buddy read The Island of Missing Trees with my friend Leanne, and then I read her new book, There Are Rivers in the Sky, so that's those 2 books. And Adiba Jaigrada, I again read her book with Farida, 40s and a Funeral, and then I also read her new book on her own, which was Rani Chowdhury Must Die. So that is those books. And all fab authors, love all their books, so happy with that. You were part of one completed buddy read, so 1% of your 2024 reading was shared with friends. That one buddy read on here is with my friend Nat, because I read lots of buddy reads with friends throughout the year, but Nat told me there is a buddy read feature on Storygraph now, which is so cool. So we buddy read 40s and a Funeral together, which was really fun, and I really enjoyed the fact that on Storygraph, when you do a buddy read together, you can both have updates on the book as you go that you can see each other sharing on Storygraph. So yeah, that's really fun. 2024's average rating was 3.94 stars. I am not surprised at that. This year I was not like harsher with the way I review books, but I just thought, is this really a 5-star read? Does this justify 5 stars? Because even though I love a book, I'm like, is it a 5-star read or is it just a 4-star read that I really enjoyed? And actually, I don't even think 3 stars is a bad rating. So I was really selective about how I rated my books this year. I did a lot more 3.5 or 4.5 or 2.5. I did a lot more half ratings as well. So yeah, 3.94. I think that's pretty decent. That's a good-ish year, I say. And these are all my 5-star reads this year. A good selection there. Some fab books. Some Like It Cold. The Housemaid. The Housemaid is a great book. I Might Be in Trouble. Again, a fab book. My 2024 rating, so yeah, as you can see, I still had the majority of 5-star reads, with over 20 books being at 5 stars, and then the most common rating is 3.5 stars. Not too many 1 or 2 stars, which is good. Some months are better than others. October had a highest average rating of 4.5 stars. That's good. And February was not my favourite month because it had an average rating of 3.33 stars. In April, the most pages read was 3,699 pages. Wow, that was a good month for me. Other Storygraph users in your 2024 reads. So the most shelved was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas for 531,592 users. That is a lot of people. And my rating of it was 3 stars. I am so sorry to all the Sarah J. Maas fans who will strongly disagree with that rating. And then you have got the least shelved book, which is Finn Carter and the Agents of Eronlos, and that it's only been shelved by 2 users. That's tiny! Does that include me? My rating for that was 4 stars. And then you have my highest rated book, which is Disney's Little Mermaid, the official junior novelisation, at 5 stars. I bought that because it was cheap in Asda, and I really loved the movie The Little Mermaid with Halle Bailey, and I was like, I can read it now. I can read the movie I love so much. And it literally was just basically the movie in a book for kids to read. I feel like if you want to read a film you really love, Can't really go wrong with that. And there was pictures in it. Always a win. You did some things that were different to your normal picks by reading a hopeful, inspiring, relaxing and fast-paced book. That sounds about right. I don't read many relaxing or hopeful books. I normally read depressing, dark things. 26 of the books you read were part of a series. The question is, how many of those series have I finished? Because probably not very many at all. How many of them are sequels? Well, Celestial Monsters, that's a sequel, so that counts. That's good. Can't Spell Treason Without Tea. I am not going to be continuing with that series. I am sorry. I enjoyed the first one. I just didn't enjoy it enough to continue on. I felt like it was quite good to read and enjoy, but I'm not invested enough to want to know what happens next. Somewhere Beyond the Sea, so House in the Cerulean Sea 2. Genuinely adored that book, so very happy with that. And that is a completed duology now, so that counts. This Woven Kingdom by Tahira Mafi. Again, I will not be continuing with that book. I've had enough of that world now. I've read it, done it, got a t-shirt. I'm happy. Finale, which is Caraval number 3, so that is one completed series. Before We Forget Kindness, which is the 5th book in the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series, so that is a series I'm kind of up to date with as it goes. Cross the Line, I think that's a series now, because Ride With Me is going to be book 2 in that series, even though it's separate romance plot, same universe, so technically I started a new series. Wrath of the Triple Goddess. Oh yeah, that's the latest Percy Jackson. I see that as like a separate Percy Jackson series to the original series, but kind of book 2 in the new books, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's a series again I'm up to date with. Hex is number 2 in a series. Oh my god, maybe that's why I didn't like it very much. I didn't even know that was a series book, so maybe that's why I didn't like it. The Housemaid, which is of course the first in the series, so I started that series. Kiki's Delivery Service, again the first in the series. Legendary is book 2 in the Caraval series. Race to Fire Mountain is the first in the series. Again, that's one I won't be continuing with. I didn't dislike it. I enjoyed the first book. I just feel like I don't need to carry on. Christmas Killer, first in the series. Won't be carrying on with that either. It just was very middle ground for me. Don't really care enough to carry on. There's a sequel to Holes by Louis Saka. I will not be continuing with that. That first book is brilliant. It does not need a sequel. Fourth Wing, again, everyone's telling me I need to read the sequels, but I have so many books to read, so that's a series I've started. Caraval, obviously book 1 in the series. A Court of Mist and Fury, obviously that's book 2 in the series. I do own that whole series because I bought them when I was at school. I have no idea if I'm continuing or not. It'll just be a pure like vibe thing. Like if I feel like it, I will. If I don't, then I won't. The Adventures of Mina Al-Sarafi. So yes, I read that first book. I love that first book. The second book isn't even out yet, so I can't carry on with that series. And Tempest of Tea, see previous answer. The second book isn't out yet. When it is, I will be reading it. Feybound, I will not be carrying on with that series. I love Zara Al-Arifi's writing. I did not like that book as much as I wanted to. It wasn't bad, it just didn't do enough for me. So I will be leaving that series as unfinished. Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy, that doesn't even count as a series, that's a standalone side novel. Front Desk, I liked that book. I don't necessarily need to read more of it, so even though that's the first in the series, it will stay the first in the series for me. Pages and Co, I will definitely be finishing that series. I loved that book. I thought it was an adorable middle grade novel. Really good way at kind of literally bringing characters to life and getting kids thinking about how magical books can read and about fueling their imaginations. So yeah, I'll definitely be continuing with that series. I reread Good Girl Bad Blood, which is the Good Girl's Guide to Murder. So that is a series I've read before, but that is obviously book 2. And then you've got Spectacular, which is, of course, the Caraval novella that came out this year. So that is the series that I read. It's always fun to look at to see what series I continued with or stopped or I'm in the middle of. Revisited a total of 7 books this year. Which ones did I finish? Well, we know I revisited the Caraval series. That's at least 3. A Little Life, yeah. Sun and the Star, yes. I did reread that as a buddy read with my friend Leanne again. Absolutely love it. And then there's the Caraval series. Oh yes, A Court of Mist and Fury, because I tried to read it years ago when I was still at school after I finished Court of Thorns and Roses, but I got bored and quit. And then I reread it this year, almost as if it was the first time, because I'd forgotten everything, and I actually managed to finish the book. And of course, The Island of Missing Trees, which I also buddy read with my friend Leanne this year, and I loved it as much as I did the first time. So that is the books I revisited. DNFing, only 6 books this year. That's actually pretty good for me, because I have a very low threshold for DNFing. So I DNF'd Goddess Crown, The Devil Makes 3, To Cage a God, This Time Tomorrow, The Road Trip, and Ink Blood Sister Scribe. None of these books were bad, they just were not my cup of tea. You know, you can just tell when a book's not going to work for you. That was the issue with all of these, is they weren't bad books, they just were not doing it. You read 59 books from your own shelves this year. I think I read more than that from my own shelves. I just forget to mark them as owned. I think there was probably almost all of them I owned, but I just didn't change it on Storygraph. And then we have my 2024 at a glance. Here are all the books that I read in 2024. Oh, there's some great books on here. Orphans of the Storm is a really good book. Love that. The Honey Witch is a book. That is a book indeed. You've got A Magical Girl Retires. I loved that book. That was brilliant. You've got The Black Flamingo, another really good book. The Housemaid, again. I Might Be in Trouble, again. The Way Up is Death, a fantastic book. Squid Games meets Matt Haig. And that is my Storygraph in 2024. I hope that was somewhat interesting or enjoyable. I don't know, I hope you basically enjoyed watching this video and you don't feel like you wasted your time spending it with me. Thank you so much for watching. If you are still here, I just look forward to seeing what 2025 has in store. I hope you had a happy, safe and healthy new year. I hope you have a happy, safe and healthy 2025. And I hope you find at least one new book that you like reading this year. Happy reading, happy new year, and I will see you all again soon. Bye.